Hi, friend, and welcome back to the Like Us podcast. This is a Real Housewives recap edition with your host, Erin Jones-Wesley. We are getting into the Real Housewives of Rhode Island and the Real Housewives of Atlanta here at Like Us Pod. We did cover Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, as you know, and now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of which Real Housewives series is the most relatable. And also, who is the most relatable housewife on The Real Housewives of Atlanta and Rhode Island? So we will find out when we get to the end of the season. But before we get into the recap of Rhode Island and Atlanta, let's get into this week's Hot Mic Confessional. So for this week's Hot Mic Confessional, I literally had a credit on the Michael Jackson biopic. Honestly, though, I feel like that's pretty exciting news. I'm not one to brag about myself too much because, I don't know, it's awkward and cringe. But I have to shout myself out when credit is due. And baby, it was due. Here's the thing. I was a movie executive for a few years in a past life, and it was enjoyable experience to the fact that I was literally manifesting my dream. And when I tell you that I manifested my name in the credits of the Michael Jackson biopic, and I didn't think it was going to happen. I didn't think I was going to be acknowledged at all. And so the fact that I literally ended up seeing my name on the credits as I scrolled up, I started crying. In the movie executive world, in the Hollywood landscape, executives are not supposed to be excited about credits. It's cringe. You're not supposed to shout it out. It's supposed to be a thing that you don't even care about. That's how it's supposed to be. But I'm not an executive anymore and I can care and I'm excited. You guys don't even know how it all laid out. Maybe I'll talk about it one day. Leave a comment if you're curious, but all I will say is go watch Michael. It had the best opening weekend of any musical biopic of all time. And the fact that I was even a teeny tiny bit a part of that movie is really exciting. And that's it. Let's get into the show. So we're going to start with Rhode Island and then we're going to go to Atlanta. But if you don't watch Atlanta and you leave this podcast early, can you at least scrub all the way through so then it feels like I got a view? Thank you. The episode starts and Alicia's making flower arrangements. And I don't know if the flower arrangements were that great, but she's really excited. She's like, oh my God, I got to show Bill. And something that I love and what did feel, a little grounded and relatable is the fact that she was just so proud of these little flower arrangements. And what was really sweet about it is that she's making this flower arrangement for Joellen, whose grandfather passed away. Something that I noticed right away is that on other Housewives franchises that have known each other for a longer time, people will go through these family losses and their castmates don't even care. I was reading Lisa Rinna's book and she talks about how her mother had passed away, her mother who had been on the show, and that she didn't feel like the producers or her castmates cared at all. And so it kind of felt like, oh, we're seeing a real friend group with the fact that Joellen is coming over and Alicia and even Liz for that matter, they both bring her flowers. I also appreciate that with Joellen in particular, Joellen's a woman that still has a punch the clock job, right? She's still going on work trips and she's fitting in this production schedule around her true job because that's her stability, right? There's no guarantee that Real Housewives of Rhode Island gets a second season, that it keeps going. And so I love a practical queen who keeps her day job while also shooting a reality show. I like to see it. And apparently she's good at her job and she's doing great with sales. I felt like it just also felt like real friends. Something that happened in this moment that was really funny is as they're about to go outside, Alicia goes, oh, should I bring champagne? And Liz says, yeah, a little hair of the dog. And then Alicia's like, the dogs are at my mother's, which is just funny. It's they're just really cute friends. Liz and Alicia then catch Joellen up and they are telling her about everything she missed when they went to their little activity the day or two before. And Liz tells Joellen that she doesn't think that she should be attacking Rula anymore because it feels like it's a little bit low. And Alicia tells Joellen about kind of what happened with Rosie and how they were upset with each other. And everyone kind of just decides that Joellen didn't really miss out on anything much, but there's more to come with all of the ongoing. And something that I noticed on this show is that they're so obsessed with the word ongoing. Ongoing has become a noun, and I love it. It's the ongoing. The ongoing what, girls? There's a lot of things ongoing in Rhode Island. Ashley arrives to Kelsey's house, and I felt like in this moment, I finally learned the difference between Kelsey and Rosie because I kept getting them confused. Even though they don't really look alike, There's just something like they fundamentally don't look similar at all, really, except for that they both have dark hair. But there's something so similar about them. You know what I mean? They just there's something about them that looks very similar. I'm sorry, there is. But Ashley arrives to Kelsey's house, and at this moment, I'm like, okay, I know the difference, right? And Kelsey is doing hair and makeup in the salon that's in her boyfriend's house. And I guess at a different point in time, Kelsey thought she was going to go to cosmetology school and study that. She grew up from a very middle class background, but then she went straight from her parents' house to the boyfriend's house. And by the way, she's been with the boyfriend since I think she was 19 or 20, so very young, because now she's 31. So she's been a decade with this guy. And she just went straight from her parents' house to living with the boyfriend. And the boyfriend's got a huge mansion, and she's in that mansion by herself. And then she says that the boyfriend's kids are only 3 years younger than her. And I'm like, girl, this is scandal. A scandalo. I love it though. So Kelsey's doing Ashley's hair. And Ashley says that, she always has one clinger friend in a group. And she's like, oh, you have a clinger friend and Rosie's my clinger. Like, I got to stick with her. And I never really had that experience. Like, that doesn't really resonate with me that much. And I realized that, and I said this last episode, like, so many people love Ashley, but for me, she doesn't really, I don't know yet. Like, the jury's out on Ashley and the relatability. Something about her I don't really quite get, but I get that that's some people's fave. So go off, whatever. And Ashley says, I hope you guys can be friends. And Kelsey's like, I don't really know if I'll be friends with Rosie because I did her hair and she never tagged me. And here's the thing. Like, I know it sounds vapid, but I'm kind of on Kelsey's side. If Kelsey has a little hustle and she's trying to get her business up and Rosie has more followers and Kelsey did her solid, maybe took some prices off or did something, for Rosie, trying to be nice, and Rosie couldn't reciprocate being nice and just took the favor, I don't know about that. I feel like also, I'm giving Kelsey a like us point, by the way, for this, because it's also a very vulnerable thing to share that you were hoping to get credit for something that you didn't get credit for. And especially when it comes to social media where everyone is very quick to call that just stupid and who cares. I actually think it's beyond that. I do think that there's a little bit of reciprocity that needs to exist, particularly with people who know that they care about that. I knew someone once that I invited them to something that was really meaningful to me, a really big brand activation. I was super excited by it. And they were posting as if they got invited to that thing from just that they themselves just got invited. They never tagged, they never said thank you. They used it for content and then that was it. They never tagged or anything. And to me, it's if you know that you're operating in an ecosystem of people who do care about that, it's not I'm just some random person who's not on social media, or that they were a random person not on social media. But to not give credit where credit is due feels icky and feels like you're just being a taker. So to me, I don't know. I feel like Kelsey's in the right. Sorry. And she gets a like us point for that. Sorry. Now it's boat day. Okay. And Ashley and Rosie are in the corner because, as you know, they're homegirls. And Rosie saying she doesn't really feel good enough. And something that I did appreciate from Rosie, even at the top of the episode, is she's telling her friend, she's like, I never know if I have friends or not. And I do feel like that was also a little bit relatable. To be I don't know if I even have friends to invite on this boat in the first place. Like I don't know. I feel like we've all gone through these moments in life where you just don't know if you really have friends or not. You're oh, do I have friends? And honestly, to the story that I just told, it's kind of the reason why sometimes you feel that way, right? It's people do you dirty or they do you sideways, and you're like, is that a friend? These are the friends I got. With friends like these, who needs enemies? So Rosie doesn't really know if she has friends, so she's on the boat. And the thing that I found so funny on this boat is that the conversation of the haircut comes up, right? Where Kelsey's Rosie, this is my issue with you. And we're getting a very clear understanding of why Rosie feels like she doesn't have friends is because she's not tagging people, I guess, right? That's why she doesn't have Kelsey as a friend. It does seem though that Kelsey and Rosie they have some underlying beef, and it must be because people get them confused. Because I had someone that I was always getting confused with. It would be hard for me to be I think you either are BFFs and now you're attached at the hip, or you're don't compare me to that troll. And there's probably no in between. And so I feel where Rosie and Kelsey don't get along, it's because they're like, don't compare me to that troll, and they don't really like want to be compared to the other person. They look so similar though. Next, we find out that Liz and Jerry are selling their boat, and Jerry used to do sport fishing, and he once did sport fishing with Michael Jordan, and Liz kind of gushes over how much she loves Michael Jordan, which tells me that she's a woman of a certain age. No offense, it just is. RHOA then goes to have drinks with Joellen, and this is what I mean about Joellen clocking into work. She has her 9 to 5 job, and then she's clocking in to be a reality star, and she is on her shit, okay? Like, Joellen goes to see RHOA, and RHOA right off the bat has all the excuses. She's like, oh, the mistress uses AI. Oh, the mistress is crazy. And Joellen's like, I don't think the mistress is crazy. I know her. She's telling me stuff. She's like, by the way, like, she might be a little wackadoo because, like, why is she just showing me her phone? But also, like, why is she just showing me her phone? And Rula's like, how do you know that's Brian's number? What do you blah, blah, blah. And I feel like what we need to do is we need to let Rula let that man cheat in peace. She's obviously made peace with it herself, where she's like, that man's going to cheat on me. And so she doesn't care. And all the other ladies need to stop caring. And hopefully by the end of the season, we get there. We get to that point. Because if we spend the whole season where we all have to pretend like we want Rula to figure out that her man is cheating on her and to leave him, she's not going to. She's already been divorced before. She's embarrassed that she's already been divorced once. She doesn't want to be divorced twice. Brian knows that. So they're sticking together. And it is what it is. That's what's happening. Rula and Joellen keep going back and forth, though. And Rula says, Brian's not seeing that lady. He's going to the gym every morning. And Joellen's like, does Brian look like he goes to the gym? Incredible. That's incredible housewifery. Now we ride to the polo match. And this is a group activity. Everyone shows up. And Rula and Brian are like right off the bat, oh my God, we have to go. Something's wrong with Brian's mom. And I hope nothing was wrong with Brian's mom. But they've only been gone 5 minutes. And Joellen is like, the mistress just texts me and Brian's going to go see her. And you're like, oh my gosh, this woman is the bone collector. So everyone's on the bus, and Liz is like, I don't know if I trust Joellen. She's just getting this information. I don't know if it's true. We got to find out if it's true. Whatever. So they all show up to the polo match. Rosie gets a little shout out at the polo match. So apparently she is like local hero. I thought it would be Kelsey, who was Miss Rhode Island, but it's Rosie, who's the weather girl. And that also explains some of their beef. Because Rosie is not Miss Rhode Island, but she is. And Kelsey was Miss Rhode Island. But is she? And that's what happens when people buy your pageant win. Because I feel like with Kelsey, she did have that man who, you know, for all intents and purposes, could have paid for all the things she needed to win a pageant. Pageants are not outside of people buying them, okay? And I think the big beef with Kelsey and Rosie is Miss Rhode Island, but Kelsey is Miss Rhode Island. And so who is Miss Rhode Island, right? They're fighting for the same shelf space. And Rosie had to get her stuff together. She's doing production. You know what I mean? She's trying to hustle. She's doing the best she can. She's a little whiny. I find Rosie a little bit whiny. I think Kelsey seems cooler as of right now. But, you know, this is what's happening at the polo match. And so Rosie seems a little tipsy. She's yapping. She's talking. And she starts talking to Joellen, and Joellen's like, oh, what's going on with the house? And Rosie says, oh, the house is getting 5,000 square feet and blah, blah, blah. And so now they're like, well, is it 8,000 square feet or is it 5,000 square feet? And I feel like this is the type of conversation that is perfect for housewives. It's giving Chateau Charest, right? You know, it's giving She by Charest. I feel like, is someone a housewife if they're not misconstruing the information about what's really happening? Do you know what I mean? And so I do love Rosie for just being a great Real Housewife in this matter. Joellen pulls people to the side because she goes on Instagram and she notices that the mistress posted a photo of her and Brian on Instagram, and Joellen is freaking out. Concurrently, Kelsey puts on Rula's ring, and we discover that Brian doesn't have on a ring because Kelsey goes to show her second boyfriend her ring. And then she goes, where are you guys' rings? It seemed planned. It seemed intentional. It seemed like they were like plotting. Like, oh, Kelsey, go see if Brian has his ring on. And he didn't. And someone else's husband, who I'm not sure which one, didn't have a ring. And he said he didn't feel ashamed about not wearing a ring. So there's that. Rosie and Kelsey are being petty because Kelsey's like, Rosie's a liar. And honestly, I hope they never make up. I hope that they have beef forever. I hope that that is the true parting line, is Rosie versus Kelsey. I hope the beef lasts all season, actually. Joellen then tracks the timeline between Brian and Rula. And she says, Rula, I need to talk to you because I want to talk to you about what's going on with your husband in this Instagram. And I don't know why Joellen thinks it's so much her business, because it's not. But I think she just wants to be vindicated for the fact that Brian called her office and tried to get her fired for her telling the truth. And so she's like, I'm just telling the truth. And by the way, this isn't my Instagram post. This is someone else's Instagram post. And my only question to Brian is, why hasn't he blocked that lady yet? Why hasn't he blocked her? Brian, if it's such a nuisance in your life, you need to block her. And the fact that he hasn't blocked her, the fact that Rula hasn't made him block her, I don't know, it's giving that Rula wants to let that man cheat in peace, and Joellen's messing up their peace. That's what I'm getting. I think Joellen's a little too much in the chisme. I do. We end the episode with Brian and Rula leaving and everyone being in their chisme, being in their gossip. We love to see it. I love Rhode Island. I think they're doing a great job. So as of right now, we had 3 ladies get like us points this episode. I'm giving, even though I do feel like Joellen was too much in the chisme, I have to give her an overall like us point for the episode because I feel like she was telling it like it is. When she said, does Brian look like he goes to the gym? I just, honestly, for entertainment, for telling it like it is, she gets a point. I usually don't give those out, but I feel like you have to appreciate when people are being honest. And she was telling her truth. She was being honest, and I like it. So Joellen has 5 points. That brings her up to 15 points on the scorecard. She's in second place to Rosie, who also got points this episode for saying that she doesn't know if she has friends or not. And that's a mood. And the third person to get points this episode was Kelsey, because I thought that Kelsey taking it as a slight that Rosie didn't tag her for her services rendered, that felt right. What we're looking at on the scorecard now is Rosie in first place, Joellen and Alicia tied for second place. They have 15 points. Liz and Kelsey are tied for third place with 10 points. Ashley has 5 points, and Rula and Dolores have yet to get on the board. That's what's happening in Rhode Island. Do you agree with the scorecard? If not, drop who you think is your number 1 most relatable housewife so far. And we will be talking more about Real Housewives of Rhode Island all season long. Let's get into Real Housewives of Atlanta. So the episode starts and Pinky is putting together a community service event. And right off the bat, she gets a like us point because I was involved in charity for like 10 years. And I feel like doing community service is very important. It's important to give back. Don't just talk about it, be about it. And that is Pinky's first like us point of the season, is her getting on the board for the first time by running an event. What I thought was funny in this moment is Pinky says she's going to sit people next to each other who don't like each other. And then she calls herself Ayanla Fix My Life. And I feel like we don't talk enough about Ayanla Fix My Life. There was a moment where Ayanla Van Zant was huge on social media in terms of memes, especially like that, not on my watch, not on my watch. And then her talking to Hazel about her raps, pop my butt, pop my butt. And then she's like, do you know what pop my butt meant to Harriet Tubman? Oh, what? So I do feel like Ayanla had her moment in time. But I feel like I watched Ayanla Fix My Life really early. And I feel like it improved my emotional intelligence. Like there was something about watching people who were at their rock bottom getting help and support and watching how they got talked through those times that I feel like for me, honestly, I don't know, there was a little, it helped. It taught me. It taught me so much. I learned so much from Ayanla Fix My Life back in 2010, 11, and 12. That's all I'm going to say. Pinky says that she's a reformed slut, and so she likes to call a slut, and that's why slutty vegan is what it is. And when people walk in, they call people sluts. I don't know if I would have that as my restaurant. It feels like it's very specific to a type of person that's not offended by that, but like, go off, queen. Pinky and Kelly then both start talking because Kelly comes over and they're chatting. And Kelly also mentions that she's going through bankruptcy. And I feel like that's really interesting because she's like, oh, I've been through bankruptcy so many times. And I don't know if that's a thing to brag about, but whatever. The thing that's the weirdest about this conversation, though, is like Pinky's like, oh, I haven't told my husband yet. And why haven't you told your husband that you're filing for bankruptcy? Are you not married? But they have a weird relationship. Whatever, no judgment. Even if your finances are separate, that's meant to be your road dog, your life partner, the person that you're in cahoots with. So why aren't you telling them that you're filing for bankruptcy, girl? Weird. Anyways, Kelly then tells her that she needs to tell her husband. And now they're talking about the fact that Pinky and Kelly are talking about that there's a rumor that Pinky eats meat. And Kelly is not sharing with Pinky that she's also someone who is perpetuating this rumor. I do think that there's something funny about there being a rumor that she eats meat, but I understand that it's like not funny because it's her livelihood. I said it once, I'll say it again. It's like not that, it's a very innocuous rumor. They start cackling about throwing a bankruptcy party, and I'm going to move on from that. Cynthia is hosting a tequila party in Dallas, though, and she lets all the ladies know that she is teaming up with Adrienne Maloof in a tequila business. And Cynthia Bailey is a lesson in networking. You got to network across, okay? Because Cynthia has worked her ass off in that housewife universe to keep a job and to keep a network, okay? Because she's networked with Crystal Minkoff. They have their little humble brag podcast together. And then the fact that she has Adrian Malouf invested in her tequila business. I'm loving it. You know what, Cynthia? Get your bag, girl. 50 cent. 50 cent. She's about to be 50 million cent. I don't know. Shamia's talking about getting a surrogate and wanting a boy with her husband. Do we like Shamia's husband? I don't know. It's giving, if they only have one more egg left, that's a boy, and then it's, oh, what's going to happen? I don't know. Maybe you just have one kid and you don't have a boy. Like, don't be weird. That's just me. I'm just saying. I don't know about him. We go to Porsha's house, and Porsha's having Mike come over. And I feel like Porsha and her bisexuality dating on Housewives, it's giving more of I could go Brad, I could go Angelina, even more than Kyle Richards. And I feel like it's super brave of Porsha because homophobia sometimes extends to women too and their bisexuality. And I do feel like there's something really cool about Porsha just living her truth and living it out in the open. Porsha's been really great, I guess, this whole time about just being transparent as much as she can be. I think that's why she's been a longtime fan favorite for people. Porsha then starts talking about the fact that she has to sell her house and how that makes her really emotional because she thought that her mom was going to grow old in this house. And then she gets even more emotional and cries, and Mike comforts her. And then she does a confessional on the spot in the closet about Mike. And I kind of am living for a live confessional. We should do more of these. There's something nice about it just being instantly, let's talk about this thing that's happening in the moment. It doesn't give them time to go to a writer. It doesn't give them time to reflect. I don't know. I kind of love it. Then we go into K. Michelle, and K. Michelle, who we've talked about last episode, I love her. She's saying that she's getting ready for her first girls trip and that she's been so busy she can't even believe she's going on this girls trip, even though she just had surgery for her BBL gone wrong. And she's like, I'm too busy. I'm too busy to die. I couldn't die if I wanted to. And you're like, oh my God, slow down, girl. Slow down. We then get Phaedra, Angela, and Porsha. They all go work out together because Angela and Phaedra made up last episode. So now they're all going to a bicycling class with a hot gym teacher. And it just reminded me that I hate a bike class. I hate a bike class. Don't invite me to Soul Cycle. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. I'm impressed with the fact that they all have like wigs on and they're sweating in this hard class with wigs on. When I'm working out, you better believe I have no extensions in my hair. I don't want to wear my extensions when I work out unless they're like sewn in and I have to. But like, ugh, it's hot. When you have more extensions, it's so hot. Phaedra talks about that she thinks that the bike class instructor is hot, but that she wouldn't want to date him because she doesn't think that you should ever date a man that's that fine. He can only be a little fine, not a lot fine. And this has made me laugh because it was the same thing that Dorit said to Rachel Zoe in the Hamptons. That she was like, my mother always said, don't marry a guy that is too cute. And I don't know if I agree. I do like a cutie patootie. My husband's cute, you know? Sorry. Now they're talking about Meatgate. And the fact that the editors have named it Meatgate is hilarious. Because Phaedra's like, I don't know why Pinky thinks I said she ate meat. All I said is that she owned a Jamaican joint and like a barbecue joint at some point. And if she's upset about me saying she ate meat, I think she has bigger fish to fry. The ladies are then talking about the donations that Pinky's making them give, and they're kind of complaining. And I don't really love that part. It's like, God loves a cheerful giver. Don't be someone who's talking shit about giving. Porsha and Phaedra are like, maybe we should just write her a check. Maybe Pinky should just take our money. So nasty and so rude. Angela has a business meeting about her Fangy business, which I don't understand why these fans cost so much money. She's making a lot of fans all at once, and I don't know why she wouldn't do a limited edition run, let them sell out, and then do more fans. I don't want to get into her business, but I feel every time they're talking about business on this show, I'm side-eyeing everybody. Because what are we doing? What are we doing? She then has her husband, Charles, come by. And she's like, oh, well, Charles can just give me money for the business. And then I know how to get money from my husband, and like alludes that she sleeps with him to get money. And I just feel like that's such a stupid old school narrative. Like, who cares? Like, okay, you sleep with your husband. Why are you sleeping with your husband for money? That just feels so weird. Like, either sleep with your husband or don't, but leave us out of it. It's not my business. I don't know about your arrangement, and I don't want to know. You know what I mean? Leave us out of it. We then go to Pinky's fundraiser, and we notice that everyone's there, but Frick and Frack are missing. And it's because freaking Freck are eating. Porsha and Phaedra are at Phaedra's house eating before Pinky's luncheon because they want to eat meat, and Pinky's place is going to be all vegan and they know better. So they're just eating. And Aiden walks in, and I can't believe Aiden is like 15 because I remember when he was a little baby on the show. And he comes in to say hi to like his like auntie Porsha. And you could tell that he immediately regrets it because Portia's like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm about to take a nap. And she's giving him a hard time. And he's just standing there being a polite teenage boy because, Phaedra would, probably give him a very stern talking to if he was being disrespectful on camera. So he's just sitting there kind of being respectful, but kind of wishing he never walked into the room. And then Phaedra, honestly, I give Phaedra a like us point for that because she starts talking about how she's a black mama. He's going to learn how to wash the clothes and wash my clothes and get to cleaning and getting me a Coca-Cola. And I just feel like this is so typical black mom. If like, you're going to learn how to cook and clean and whatever. And so it's good to know that even boys have to deal with that. They get to the fundraiser. And we first see that Derek is there and then he leaves. And I just feel like that's odd to me. And again, I'm going to say, I don't want to judge people's relationships, but it feels like they have something interesting going on that I don't really fully know about. But Derek leaves and then Kelly shows up. And this is even weirder to me. Like Kelly shows up and she's like, oh, I don't feel well, so I'm going to give everyone elbows. And why are you showing up to a community service event when you have a cold? Did we learn nothing from COVID? Stay your ass at home. I hate when people show up places with cold. Like, it's so inconsiderate. If you have a cold, stay away. I don't want to see you. I don't want to see you coughing, hacking. Wear a face mask and don't show up. I don't want to see it. K. Michelle is clocking everything and everybody. She's like, look, I know how everybody's acting. And you could tell that she's like, I don't know what I got myself into being on this show because these ladies are crazy. But here she is anyways. Porsha shows up with Phaedra. And Porsha doesn't greet Kelly. Porsha just says, I didn't see her. This is the thing. Kelly talks so much crap about Porsha in the confessional. She keeps calling her Horsha. And to me, it's giving scary. Kelly, say it to her face. This is going to make me sound bad, but that's a like us point for me. Because when I don't like people, it's like Cardi B. If you see me and I don't speak, that means I don't F with you. Real. Also, when I don't like people, sometimes I don't see them. Truthfully, sometimes I don't see them. Also, when I don't like people, sometimes I don't know them. And when I don't like food, sometimes I'm allergic. And I just think that is what it is. Those are the facts of life. We're going to move on. Pinky's telling everybody about the headlines of how much money she owes. And she's like, I could wipe my ass with $98,000. And then Phaedra says in her confessional, she's like, don't wipe your ass with it. Why don't you pay the rent man, girl? Why don't you handle your business then, girl? And I feel like that's the right answer. If someone's acting like money is nothing, but then there's headlines that they owe money, then just pay the money. Meatgate comes up one more time, and we get to the bottom of it where Phaedra says, I heard it was Shamia who said that. It was Shamia who said that, but it actually was Kelly who told Shamia, and Shamia who said it to Angela. But Phaedra planted the seed with Shamia by saying that Pinky owned a business that sold meat at one point and then pivoted to slutty vegan. And so Shamia's like, I don't have beef with Phaedra, and Phaedra wants to have beef with me, but I'm not going to have beef with Phaedra. This is one-sided. And I feel like that's a power position to come in at and be like, girl, your beef is one-sided. Pinky then says that she's to produce the Maury show, and so she would like for all of the drama to stop at the event, which, come on, we know it's a housewife event. There's always going to be drama. Get over it. Well, maybe we talk about it in Dallas, and Cynthia's like, absolutely not at my event. We're not doing that in Dallas either. Cut it out. We move on, and we get a Maury Povich pop-up where it says that Pinky is a true vegan and not a meat eater, which, like, I don't even know if we care. Even if she did eat meat, I wouldn't care. Doesn't affect me. I hope you don't, Pinky. I hope you're 10 toes down, but like, meh. This next scene is probably the most boring of the episode, which is Porsha and her sister are talking, and then Dennis comes over and they're planning a podcast for the daughter. And honestly, there was nothing interesting about this scene. Love Porsha, love her down. Why do we care that Dennis and Porsha are arguing about them being in business with each other and him talking about her personal life when they're talking about business? I don't care. Pinky and her man are working out, and she finally tells him about the bankruptcy. Which, about time. And part of me is like, is this a fake storyline that maybe she already told him, but then we were pretending like she didn't tell him? We'll never know. And that's a wrap in Atlanta. Let's get into the scorecard. Both Pinky and Phaedra got on the board this episode. Pinky for giving back to the community, and Phaedra for being a Black mama. That ties them both with Shamia. They all have 5 points apiece, and they are all in 3rd place, just ahead of Drew, Kelly, and Cynthia, who have no points on the board yet. And at the top of our leaderboard, we have K. Michelle with 20 points. She got no points this episode. Neither did Angela, but Porsha did, tying with Angela. And Porsha got a point for not seeing Kelly. That brings her up to 10 points. She's tied with Angela. And so our top 3 leaders are K. Michelle, Angela, Porsha, Shamia, and Phaedra. That's our top 3 so far for Atlanta. If you agree, write in the comments. If you disagree, write in the comments. I want to know who you think is your most relatable housewife of Atlanta so far. Things change over the course of the season. We will keep tracking of who is the most relatable housewife on Atlanta and on Rhode Island. And we will overall see which Housewives series is the most relatable, Atlanta, Rhode Island, or Beverly Hills. Stay tuned here. Thanks for listening, and I will see you guys next week. Make sure to follow at Erin Jones-Wesley or at Like Us Pod so that you don't miss an episode or a scorecard. Thanks so much. Bye.